Aarav sat beneath the old banyan tree, fingers tracing the grooves of his worn-out notebook. The silence around him was deafening, yet inside a storm raged. Ever since Aanya had returned to town, memories he thought buried had clawed their way back into his chest, memories of their unfinished song, and the night she left without a word. The rehearsals had begun, but music no longer felt like a refuge. It was a battlefield. Aarav avoided eye contact, speaking only when necessary. Aanya tried to act unaffected, but every note they sang together felt like a plea, a question neither dared to ask. Then came the unexpected complication. Rehan, a charming, ambitious music producer from Mumbai. Rehan arrived in town as a guest judge for the festival. But it wasn't just music he was after. He shared a past with Aanya, brief but intense, and judging by the way his eyes lingered on her during the rehearsals, it wasn't over for him. Aarav noticed. The night before the final performance, the rain came uninvited, wild, loud, and relentless. Inside the dim rehearsal hall, the air crackled with more than electricity. Aarav stood across from Aanya, soaked from his late arrival, eyes burning with something raw and unspoken. "You could have told me," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "Back then, now, any time." Aanya looked away, her fingers tightening around the edge of the harmonium. "And would it have changed anything?" "Yes," he snapped. "I would have waited." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was thick with years of longing, heartbreak, and unfinished conversations. Rehan had left after a heated disagreement with Aanya earlier, his intentions now fully exposed. He wanted her to leave with him to Mumbai to restart what they had once begun. But her heart, confused, heavy, and aching, kept pulling her back to this moment, to Aarav, and the truth she could no longer hide. "I left because my father was dying," she finally confessed, voice cracking. "I couldn't tell you then. He made me promise to keep it from everyone. Even you." The day of the performance arrived with a stillness that felt unnatural, like the air itself was holding its breath. The auditorium buzzed with excitement. The final act was moments away. Aarav hadn't returned Anya's calls. Rehan stood backstage, dressed in a tailored kurta, ready to take the spotlight beside her. But Aanya wasn't ready. Then, moments before curtain rise, she received a call from her father's former nurse. The music began softly, a haunting melody they had written together years ago. Aanya stood center stage, eyes scanning the crowd, but her voice faltered. She looked backstage, but Rehan was gone. The letter, Aarav's silence, and the little girl with her eyes, it was all too much. Her hands trembled. Then from the side aisle, Aarav appeared, slowly making his way toward the stage, the child now seated safely with an aunt in the front row. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes never left Aanya. Without a word, he stepped onto the stage. The audience held its breath. He took his place at the piano, and without hesitation began playing the intro to their song, the one they had never performed in full. Anya's tears welled up, but her voice steadied. She sang. Every note was a confession, every harmony a healing. Their music, once broken by silence and years apart, now found its way back to wholeness. The crowd watched in awe not just of the performance, but the intimacy unfolding on stage. It wasn't just a song. It was a reunion, a reckoning, and a rebirth. As the final note rang out, a hush fell. Then thunderous applause. Backstage, Rehan watched from the shadows, the truth finally settling in. It was never her song. Aanya turned to Aarav, breathless. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted you to fly," he replied softly. "Even if it meant I stayed grounded." She stepped closer, resting her forehead against his. "You were never the ground. You were always the wings." And in that moment, under the warm glow of the spotlight, forgiveness, love, and their shared melody came full circle. "I thought you should know," the voice said gently. "He left a letter for you, and for Aarav." Anya's blood ran cold. She opened the envelope she'd avoided for years, tucked into a journal she thought held only old lyrics. Inside was the truth that shattered everything. The music faded, but the connection lingered. Aanya and Aarav stepped off the stage to a standing ovation. The festival didn't just end in applause, it ended in healing. For the town, it was a night of music. For them, it was the night silence finally gave way to truth. Later, under the same banyan tree where it all began, Aarav sat with Aanya beside him, their daughter asleep in her lap. The air was still, not heavy like before, peaceful. "I named her Mira," Aarav said quietly. "After your mother." Anya smiled, tears brimming. "She's the best part of both of us." Rehan had left early that morning, without confrontation. He understood now, some songs aren't his to sing. And for the first time he accepted it with grace. The recording offer still stood, but this time, Anya and Aarav would take it together. Not to chase fame but to tell their story one melody at a time. "I spent years running from pain," Anya whispered. "But love stayed right here." "And waited," Aarav said, smiling. "Because real music doesn't fade." As the sun rose, casting golden light through the trees, they sat there. A family whole again. Not perfect but real. The silence between their songs had finally become the harmony they always needed. Speech balloon viewer engagement. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback shapes our next tale. Pushpin YouTube video description, SEO-Optimized title. The silence between our songs final episode South Asian love story emotional musical reunion description. A heart-touching South Asian romantic drama reaches its emotional finale. Watch Anya and Aarav finally reunite through music, love and truth. Featuring an original music festival story, powerful storytelling and emotional resolution. This episode will stay with you long after the final note. White heavy checkmark Hindi English mixed dialogue white heavy checkmark South Asian cultural elements white heavy checkmark music, drama, romance and family sparkles. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Hashtag South Asian drama hashtag love story hashtag musical reunion hashtag Desi romance hashtag Indian storytelling hashtag Aarav and Anya hashtag the silence between our songs. Aarav had known. Her father had written to him, thanking him for being by her side and asking him to stay away so Anya could focus on her family. Anya's breath caught. Aarav had sacrificed. He had let her go, believing it was the right thing to do. Her anger, her grief, her guilt, all of it had been built on a misunderstanding neither of them created. She turned sharply, heart pounding, searching the crowd. And there, just as the lights dimmed, Aarav walked in. Not backstage but into the audience. But he wasn't alone. He was holding the hand of a little girl. Maybe 5 years old. She had Anya's eyes. The whispers began. Rehan's face went pale. And Anya, frozen in place, realized this performance would not just reveal her voice. It would reveal every hidden truth they had all fought so hard to keep buried. The curtain began to rise. Aarav took a step back, his expression breaking. "You let me believe I wasn't enough." The power flickered. The storm outside mirrored the one inside. They were hours from the performance that could change their lives forever, or destroy what little was left between them. Anya reached for him, but he stepped away. "You should sing with Rehan tomorrow," he said bitterly. "Maybe you already made your choice." And with that, he walked out, leaving her alone in the dark, the echoes of their unfinished melody haunting the empty room. Jealousy was never part of his nature, but something about Rehan's presence ignited a quiet rage in him. Anya's warm laughter, once reserved for their private world of harmonies and poetry, now echoed across the auditorium in Rehan's presence. It pierced deeper than he expected. Meanwhile, Anya struggled to balance the chaos inside her. Her secret, the real reason she left, burned hotter every day, threatening to spill. But now wasn't the time. Not when Aarav barely looked at her. Not when Rehan's arrival complicated everything. The festival committee announced a surprise twist. The winning composition would be offered a national recording deal. Suddenly, what started as a hometown performance turned into a career-defining moment. For Aarav and Anya, it wasn't just about music anymore. It was about facing everything they had buried under melodies and years of silence. And as the stage lights warmed their faces during rehearsal, the silence between their songs became unbearable. Anya, now a successful classical vocalist, moved through her ancestral home like a stranger. Her mother's old tempera still sat by the window untouched, yet full of presence. The house smelled of sandalwood and unsaid apologies. She didn't expect to see Aarav again, not like this. He was quieter, older in the eyes, yet the way he looked at her across the temple courtyard earlier that day, it was as if time had paused for them alone. But neither spoke. Anya carried guilt. Not just for leaving him, but for the truth she never shared. Aarav still wore the melody they once wrote together like armor, refusing to let anyone else in. Both hearts were tethered to a past neither could rewrite. Yet destiny had brought them back to the very streets where they first sang in harmony. As the town prepared for the annual music festival, both knew they'd be forced to share the stage. And perhaps, in the tension of rehearsals and the quiet between notes, truths would find their voice. But for now silence lingered. Not the peaceful kind, the kind heavy with words unsaid. This story explores mature emotional themes such as grief, unresolved love, and emotional healing. While it contains no explicit material, viewer discretion is advised. It started with rain. Not the kind that pours to drench the earth, but the soft kind, gentle like a memory you try to forget but never really can. Maya stood under the awning of a quiet train station cafe, her fingers trembling slightly as she stared at her phone. One message, unsent for weeks, lingered on the screen. I never stopped loving you. Across the platform, Aarav arrived with a suitcase in one hand and a faded photo tucked in the other. A photo of him and Maya at 22, drenched in sunlight and promises. They hadn't spoken in 5 years. Life had swept them in opposite directions. She into her quiet world of art and teaching. He into endless cities and meetings, burying himself in the noise of ambition. But something had pulled him back here, to this town, to this station, to her. Neither had planned this meeting. Maya was on her way to her mother's house after a funeral. Aarav was leaving for London, maybe for good. One accidental glance, 2 startled breaths, and the years collapsed like dominoes. He took a step forward. Maya! She looked up, heart-pounding, eyes wide. The world quieted. I thought I missed the train, she whispered. Aarav's voice was barely audible. Maybe you weren't supposed to catch it. Their eyes met. Old wounds behind them, unspoken feelings between them. Time, it seemed, had paused. Then the train's horn blared, loud and final. And one of them had to decide goodbye or one last touch before it.